He raised his glass, grinning like a man who owned the world. "Meet my trophy," he said, his hand tightening on my waist. "She's what I'd picked up in my poor phase, a souvenir of struggle." The laughter hit harder than the champagne. It rippled through the crowd, his colleagues, his friends, even strangers who didn't know me. They laughed because he told them to, and he laughed because he thought he could. I didn't flinch, not then, not when he paraded my humiliation like a crown jewel. I smiled, I raised my glass, and in that moment I sealed his fate. Backstory: once he had been gentle. Once he had held my hand like I was the only anchor keeping him from drifting. We met when he had nothing: secondhand suits, overworked nights, an apartment so small the walls groaned when we breathed. I believed in him. I carried bills when he couldn't. I studied his notes when he was too tired to read. I ironed his shirts before interviews, whispered courage into his ear when he doubted himself. He promised me forever. Not the kind that fades when bank accounts swell, but the kind that survives storms. I thought his hunger was for success. I didn't realize it was for power. The discovery. The cracks appeared slowly. Missed dinners, late-night meetings that smelled of perfume when he came home. A new phone I wasn't allowed to touch. But the final proof wasn't in the lipstick stains or hushed calls. It was in his eyes. He stopped looking at me as though I mattered. I became invisible in the home I built with him. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, I didn't confront him with evidence. Rage is messy, and messy never wins. Instead, I watched, listened, learned. The shift. The night he mocked me at that party, something inside me clicked. Betrayal is a wound, but humiliation, that's poison. It spreads. It kills slowly, unless you cure it with justice. So I pulled the poison out and turned it into a blade. While he drowned in the euphoria of his promotion, I started mapping his downfall. I knew his weaknesses, his arrogance, his greed, his need for validation. And I knew the truth he had long forgotten. Every empire he built, every step he took, every door he opened, it had all been through me. Because while he thought I was just his shadow, I was building a world of my own, a world he never cared to notice. The plan. First, I made calls, quiet ones, to people who respected me long before they knew him. Investors, mentors, the ones he believed were his allies, but who had always trusted my judgment more than his charm. Then I played the long game. I leaked what needed to be leaked. Numbers, patterns, enough to make his loyal circle doubt him. Not too much, not all at once, just enough to chip away at his shine. And then came the final move, the one he never saw coming. His new boss, the man he desperately wanted to impress, the man who would decide his future. I already knew him, knew his wife, knew his children's birthdays. I had spent years cultivating relationships he never bothered to value. When his new boss pulled into our driveway in a Rolls-Royce that morning, it wasn't just coincidence. It was choreography, and I was already in the back seat. The climax. I watched him from behind the tinted glass as he stepped outside, still in his robe, still smug from last night's victory. At first, he smirked, mistaking the scene for an honor. His boss arriving to collect him personally? A dream. He straightened his robe, ran a hand through his hair, and prepared his fake humility. But then the window slid down, and he saw me. His smirk faltered. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Confusion first, then suspicion, then dread. His boss stepped out, gave me his hand as though I were royalty, and introduced me, not as a wife, not as a trophy, but as the partner who had been quietly backing the company he had just been promoted in. The board didn't trust my husband. They trusted me, always had. He just never noticed. And now, in front of the man whose approval he craved most, the truth detonated. The fall. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to point out his affairs, his arrogance, his mockery. I just stood there, composed, untouchable, while his boss laid it all bare. The promotion he flaunted? Revoked. The seat at the table he craved? Gone. I watched his world collapse, not with noise, but with silence. Silence so sharp it cut deeper than any insult. He had mocked me as a trophy, but now he understood. I wasn't the prize, I was the player, and he was nothing more than a pawn I had outgrown. Resolution. As the car pulled away, I looked back one last time. He stood there, robe hanging off one shoulder, face pale, pride shredded. And for the first time in years, I felt nothing. No pain, no anger, just release. People think revenge is about rage. It isn't. It's about clarity, about reclaiming what was stolen from you. He stole my dignity that night at the party. I took back everything else. And the beauty of it? He never saw it coming.